Call to order the meeting of the Planning Board for February 25th, 2020. And we'll begin with hearing from any member of the public who wishes to speak on something not on the agenda. We don't have any members of the public, so that cuts that one short.
Yes, we do. The press is here.
Wow.
They represent everybody.
But not taking this opportunity. Okay, the minutes. Paul?
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of the minutes of February 11, 2020.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to go straight to approval not required plans, and the first one here is Good New Realty Trust. Plan of land to combine 3 lots into 1 lot located at 791, 97, 803 Old Barnstable Road, and they have requested a withdrawal, which we have accepted.
Okay.
And we have an applicant, another approval not required, Veronica Perry, plan of land to create 2 lots from 1 lot located at 146 Central Avenue.
Do we need to have a motion to approve the withdrawal?
Oh, do we? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we're moving on to Veronica Perry, plan of land to create 2 lots. Any discussion on that? Is there anyone here for Veronica Perry?
Well, my understanding is we're pushing this off
Right.
for a week or two because we don't have enough information.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. It would appear that we might have enough information. It's an approval not required. So what we need to know is this an approved way, and do they have the frontage? So, Tom, do you want to speak to this?
I have a question on it, and I think we need to have legal counsel advice. This is creating a non-conforming building by doing it.
Well, let's wait and hear from Mr. Bunker, and then we can discuss that, because there are differing opinions on that.
Okay.
No.
I was hoping to hear from our town council on it, but well, I can wait, or whatever.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's okay? Yeah, thank you.
Proceed, excuse me, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, and I prepared this plan. It was called on yesterday to say that it would not be recommended for endorsement because the line that we drew here, this curve, what I was told is being interpreted as a street line and therefore required a 25-foot setback. I feel that's a misinterpretation of, for one thing, the definitions in the bylaw. I can point out here in the bylaw definitions, minimum setbacks from the street frontage shall be 25 feet. The street frontage, let me see here. Yeah, it'll be 25 feet, which we know from a street. The front yard is the area of a lot between the front walls of the principal building and the lot frontage adjacent to the street the lot adjoins. And down here, that portion, the lot frontage is that portion of the lot fronting upon and having legal rights of access to a street to be measured continuously along one street line between the side lot lines and their intersection with a street line. So I have this plan here. The street line is unchanged. It's Central Ave.
Right.
The existing dwelling is 31 feet back. I'm not creating any kind of new nonconformity. The new line right here is 10.2 feet from the house, which is a sideline setback.
On the sideline, not straight.
This is a sideline. Now, it's oddly configured because there is the anticipation, perhaps, of further dividing Lot 2, which requires a full subdivision hearing. Any road put in here has to be 60 feet wide. That's why it's 60 feet at this point for 200 feet, and it would normally narrow down to 44 feet wide because that's the minimum required width of a road, but in this case, a lot can't be less than 50 feet wide. That's why here it's 50 feet wide, And this actually, this curve continues further along than a road would require, because to maintain Lot 2 as a buildable lot, this curve has to go far enough along to have more than 100 feet of frontage on Central Ave. So Lot 1 has 115 feet of frontage up to this point. Lot 2 has has more than 100 feet of frontage on Central Ave. This existing house is 10.2 feet from a side lot line, which is allowed. We're in an RB zone, we have 40,000 square feet here and well over 40,000 square feet on Lot 2. And the topographic plan was submitted. It's flat, has certainly sufficient physical access to get to both lots.
Okay.
I feel that the
Cory,
interpretation of
Cory,
front yard setback was, I think it was incorrectly interpreted.
yeah, Cory, would you share with the whole board what you were sharing with me before the meeting?
Rod had reviewed the plan again.
The building commissioner?
The building commission later this afternoon and agreed that it would not be creating a nonconformity.
Is not what?
It would not be creating a nonconformity because the side yard setback is 10 feet, but also where it merges with the frontage line meets the 25-foot setback requirement from the frontage, so that's essentially what he said.
But further, as an A&R, the concern of the planning board is it on an approved way? Yes, it is.
Yes.
And does it have enough frontage? Yes, it does. And those are the two things that this board really has
And access.
authority for.
Yep.
And whether or not it would or not be creating a nonconformity, the building commissioner thinks that it would not, but in any event, that's not really our concern. Did
No,
I get it right?
Yes, correct. You generally have that note on an A&R that your endorsement doesn't pertain to buildability or zoning conformity, so.
So the fact that
you.
we're creating two houses on one lot is not a worry either.
Well, we're creating.
They're apparently removing those they're removing,
Don't I see two structures now on this?
It's an existing nonconformity, but it's also noted that they'll be removed.
So we're okay?
I have no
Okay.
objection.
Thank, could we have,
I was just worried about the setback, and if Rod says it's fine, that's fine with me.
that's good? Everybody good? Okay, could I have a motion to endorse?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Planning board decision. This is concerning, one more time, 797 Main Street. A special permit application for parking within 5 feet from the property line at 797 Main Street. And I believe we have a decision here for us tonight. It's your shoulder that hurts, not your voice. Could you?
Okay. February 25th, 2020 draft. Motion that the planning board votes to approve the application of 797 Main Street LLC under Article 22 parking requirements of the zoning bylaw for the construction of parking spaces within 5 feet from the property line as depicted on site and architectural plans entitled Proposed Restaurant and Residential Apartments at 797 Main Street, Falmouth, Mass. 02540, prepared by Juba Engineering Group, PC, dated January 17th, 2019, with latest revision of December 16th, 2019, scale as noted, 12 sheets with the conditions. Findings. The applicant, 797 Main Street LLC, is seeking to redevelop a former Cumberland Farms convenience store and gas station as a mixed-use development. The applicant seeks to have a parking area located within 5 feet of the property line. The applicant is also proposing to raise the existing structure utilizing the L-shaped foundation with modification to add 836 square feet of floor space to first, second, and upper floor, and construct a 2.5.
It's not the right plan.
Excuse me.
Pardon me.
I don't load these plans, so.
That's not the right plan we're talking about.
797
Sorry.
Main Street?
No, there's a change. I mean, the plan I thought we're supposed to be approving has the buffer back in, the back. I mean, I
Excuse me.
just,
Okay, but the motion.
I'm
that-
sorry.
motion's correct.
The motion's correct. I'm looking at the plan as
Oh,
not
okay.
being
I
right.
thought, I thought I was reading the wrong motion.
No, you're reading the right motion. I'm looking at a plan that's not what we're
Okay.
talking about. I think there's
Okay.
something wrong. Sorry.
Well, Bob is reading.
Pardon me, Bob. Excuse me.
It's okay.
You were doing a fine job.
Corey will try to find the right plan, but we want to go forward with the motion.
I wasn't listening, I was looking.
The motion references the right
Thank
plan,
you.
so it doesn't matter what's showing.
Okay.
Okay, so the proposed development will include a 44-seat restaurant to be applied for as either 44 indoor seats or 32 indoor seats and 12 outdoor seats on the first floor with two-bedroom dwellings on the upper floors. The parcel map number 47B09014B019 is zoned business redevelopment and contains 18,749 square feet of lot area. The applicant is also proposing a shared parking agreement along Cycle Ave as well as the easement to allow access to lot 47B0914C022 across the applicant's parcel 47B0914B019, where there to be conveyance of the shared parking area to map 47B09014B019. This would bring the existing parcel into conformance with the minimum lot size requirement of business redevelopment of 20,000 square feet. The planning board's review does not include building code review, and the board defers to the building commissioner as to issues related to building code. The planning board would like to thank the applicant for revising plans and elevations based upon board review and comment. Conditions: 1, the plan shall be constructed as approved. Any changes shall be reviewed by the planning board at a public meeting to determine if a modification of this decision is necessary. Pursuant to section 24183B of the zoning bylaw, no permit for full or partial occupancy shall be issued until the planning board is satisfied that the conditions of this approval have been met. Upon substantial completion of the project in accordance with section 24193C, the applicant will be required to submit an as-built plan for review by the board planning department staff prior to issuance of an occupancy permit. 2, the applicant shall obtain an approved driveway permit or street opening permit and post any required bond with the engineering division prior to start of construction. The applicant shall complete the work as approved by the engineering division in the approved permit.
That's the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second? All those in favor, or
I'm
first
concerned
discussion?
We're showing a plan on television that's not what we're approving.
That is a concern, and we
I
hope
don't
that it
think it's
doesn't
right.
happen again. I hope, you think we should stop and wait?
There's been so many different plans approved, presented on this, I think we're gonna be confusing the public. We're showing something that we're not, I don't believe that's what we're approving.
This decision was reviewed by the town planner. The plan is dated January 17, 2019, with the latest revision being December 16th, 2019. So, and that's what the,
Where's the dumpster located? I think this is a different plan.
It's not in the corner, it's been moved.
It's been moved. This is not the plan we
Could-
approved.
But could I say, please, this applicant has been bounced back and forth and back and
I
forth.
agree.
And I agree with you that the optimum thing is for the plan that's shown to the public to be the one that we're discussing. But the public had an opportunity to see the approved plan before, so they're not without opportunity. The confusion created, to me, in this instance, matters less than the complete inconvenience to all the people who've been waiting to get this approved. Could we have further discussion on that? John,
I have one question when you're ready.
I'm ready.
In the conditions, number 2, says the applicant will post any required bond with the engineering division. I had not heard us talk about any bond. Any idea what that would be for?
Corey, can you comment on that?
Other than a curb cut?
I mean, it's kind of a general condition, and I'm not sure what the engineering division would be looking for as to a bond. We could get further clarification, but this has been a condition that you've had on previous decisions or approvals, so.
We may have overlooked it because often there are more conditions, possibly.
Okay, so there's no answer to that question right
I don't have an answer.
Okay.
Does anyone have an answer? Not now.
now? Okay.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
And I think we had a motion and a second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I
I
thank
abstain.
everyone involved for their perseverance. You abstained?
I abstain.
Abstained, okay. Jim, it's not that I don't think it's important. It's just they've been back and forth so often.
I know, but the whole issue was the location of the dumpster. We talked about that. There's a buffer strip between all the things that we put back in are not shown in this plan. And that's not what we're approving.
Well, and I doubt then that that will be the one that's marked approved.
That's the one we're showing on television.
True,
Anyone could ever see that.
okay? Moving on. We now have another decision for the applicant Ronaldo Andrade, a site plan review application for a detached accessory apartment located at 209 Courier Road, filed in January. Is anyone here to speak to that? No. Oh, excuse me. I skipped one, I'm sorry. We're going to go to Bad Martha. That must have been startling, Kevin, I'm sorry about that.
Did they ask for an extension, or are they here tonight?
No, they gave us a plan. Planning board decision for Bad Martha's former brewery, Farmer's Brewery. The site plan review application to construct an addition to the commercial building located at 876 East Falmouth Highway. And we were given, at the beginning of the meeting, a new landscape plan. Kevin, did you want to?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Kevin Clower. I'm an attorney with Ahmed Clower Law Firm here in Falmouth, and I do represent the applicant, Bad Martha Farmers Brewery LLC. And I have to throw myself at the mercy of the board a little bit, because I received an email from Mr. Bott on Friday inquiring about the status of an updated landscape plan, and leaving the last meeting, it hadn't been my understanding or interpretation that the board had been looking for an updated plan because of the relatively minor changes, which I just loaded the same plan Corey already had. The only change to the landscape plan was the addition of the 2 plants along the front berm, as had been discussed. That being said, we were able to get an updated plan, and it was submitted today. I know that is not within the time frame the board typically looks for any submissions, and I'm terribly sorry. As I said, I was notified on Friday, and as soon as we could, we got it revised and submitted. But again, the only change to the landscape plan from what was previously submitted is the addition of the 2 trees, which are marked here in red, here and here along the berm, and those are set to match the existing trees that are currently on the western side of the berm.
So there's been addition of 2 spruce trees.
Yeah.
Any questions or issues before we take a look at the decision? Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for making that last-minute correction. That's nice, thank you. Okay, Bob?
Motion that the planning board vote to approve the revised application of Bad Martha's Farmers Brewery LLC under Article 39, site plan review of the zoning bylaw for a plan entitled Site Plan Proposed Addition and Accessory Structure, Bad Martha's Farmers Brewery, 876 East Falmouth Highway, East Falmouth, Massachusetts, 6 sheets, prepared by BSS Design, dated November 26, 2019, revised through February of 6, 2020, scale 1 inch equals 20 feet, along with landscape plan entitled Bad Martha's Brewing, prepared by ML Curadosi, landscaping design and 3D imaging, dated March 29th, 2019, with latest revision, scale 1 inch equals 1 foot, with the following findings and conditions.
I think that you have
The date
to-
was scratched out, so we should insert today's date.
225.
What's the latest
right
revision
there.
on the plan?
Okay, so, latest revision of February 25th, 2020.
Thank you.
Note from
No,
T-Bot.
no, we do have the plan. You can leave that out.
Oh, okay, yeah. Findings. The applicant is seeking to revise the previous site plan review letter issued by the planning board on December 3rd, 2018. As stated in condition 1, any changes shall be reviewed by the planning board to determine if a modification of this decision is necessary. At the planning board hearing dated February 11th, 2020, the applicant outlined the following revisions to the site plan decision dated December 3rd, 2018, in plans and architectural drawings referenced above. The planning board voted to approve the site plan changes at the hearing with the condition the drainage calculations and infrastructure be approved administratively with planning department and DPW staff. The applicant's agent, Kevin Clower of Ahmet Clower LLP, summarized the changes at the February 11th hearing and in a letter addressed to town planner Thomas Bott dated February 6, 2020. The following significant changes are as follows. The applicant will remove the existing bocce court located in the front yard The applicant will erect a 6-foot stockade privacy fence at the front of the exterior area property of the brewery that holds the patio and lawn area. The applicant proposes construction of a 23-foot by 30.5-foot storage addition. The applicant will plant hedges and foliage per the approved plan. The planning board finds that the site plan, architectural elevations, and landscaping plan for the proposed commercial development appropriate for redevelopment and vision for East Falmouth Highway. Conditions: 1, the plan shall be constructed as approved. Any changes shall be reviewed by the planning board to determine if a modification of this decision is necessary. Pursuant to section 24183B of the zoning bylaw, no permit for full or partial occupancy shall be issued until the planning board is satisfied that the conditions of this approval and predecessor approvals have been met. 2, the applicant will include dry wells, rain garden, and other stormwater infiltration measures for the new roof areas. 3, the applicant will work with town staff to address drainage issues as referenced above. Drainage issues will be incorporated as part of the requirements of condition 1. 4, the planning board acknowledges the February 6, 2020 letter from attorney Kevin Clower regarding modification of site plan reviews decision for 876 East Falmouth Highway, Bad Martha Brewery, but notes that the board's authority is limited to physical aspects of the site plan and not the operational issues below. A, the music shall be kept at or below a volume that customers are able to easily speak over. B, outdoor speaker volume is to be reduced no later than 6 p.m. and shut off entirely at 9 p.m. C, all outside live music is to be concluded no later than 6 p.m. D, if a customer or neighbor expresses any concern that the music is too loud, it is immediately to be reduced to an acceptable level. 5, with regard to additional screening and the location existence of the fire pit, a landscape object is defined in section 24118 definitions, which was installed absent being shown on a plan. The board site plan approval is provisional, subject to review in February 2021.
Thank you. Can we have a second?
I have a question. We're second first, I'm asking my question.
Oh, well, thank you. Jim?
I hate to be a stickler, but where's the addition we're approving on the back of the building? I don't think this is the right plan.
The landscape plan is not, but the site plan that's referenced in Tom Bott's plans. The landscape plan really is depicting the landscaping in the front of the building. The site plans that are referenced, up again, do reflect that.
So the plan we read into this, read
Read both
into the
plans in.
decision, what was the date of that plan? Is it this plan or is it another plan? I'm just afraid we're approving the wrong plan again.
So this is the site plan, the 6 pages of site, this is the site plan that's referenced in the decision as prepared by BSS Design, which depicts,
That's the reference plan we just heard.
yes, so you,
It's not the plan we're given here tonight.
the decision references 2 plans. Landscaping plan and then the actual site plan. The site plan and the building plans are referenced, actually, I think there's 3 plans referenced. The site plans and the building plans are referenced. And then the site plan reflects the addition. The landscaper really didn't have much to do with the addition at the rear.
I
And,
just heard an addition in the decision and I didn't see it on the plan. I was just bringing it up, wondering what we're doing, that's all.
We've got a 6-page plan, and we're looking at 1 page of the 6.
I got it now, it wasn't what we're showing.
True, because it's hard to show all 6 pages.
very small.
Right. But point taken.
Yeah, I have a question too. Condition 5 refers to a provisional subject to approval in a year. I question why we need a conditional approval or provisional approval for this project. I think they've accommodated all the questions that we've had. I'm curious why we need the provisional approval, subject to review in a year.
Well, I'll attempt an answer, and perhaps Kevin can also speak to this, because there was so much comment about noise and light with this property, and questions about the fire pit. And should we also, in addition to asking for the bocce court to be removed, ask for the fire pit to be removed? The fire pit is handsome, it's there, it's expensive, and the board's decision was to leave the fire pit, but to perhaps come back in a year and see whether or not there's any concern about noise. Tom Bott, the town planner, checked with Mr. Duffy, the town council, to see, can you do a conditional approval? Is that actually a possibility? Because it's certainly very rare, that type of a condition. And the answer was, yes, we can. Corey, do you have anything to add to that?
It's really up to the board, but it's really to assess the landscaping and the physical improvements that have been made, and to ensure that they're meeting up to the standards of what the board expects in terms of any sort of nuisance that's created.
Jim?
And I also believe it was testified to that, given another whole year of growth, the landscaping will mature to become, we're judging something that hasn't even grown yet. And I think that's the real reason why we should come back again, because it needs to grow for a whole year, the bush is thicken up, and see if it does what we expect. And that's,
Right.
I remember that from previous testimony, so that's
Yeah.
why I think it's a good idea we're doing it.
If I can
Any
just-
other are we, yeah, Paul?
If a year from now there's still a problem with noise, this is not the venue to come back and address it. There are other entities in town that address the noise issue.
I'm sure that will come up at that time.
I don't know why we would condition it based on noise when we're not the one reviewing the noise in the future.
We're conditioning it not so much based on noise. I think there are other conditions involved, but it's for us to see whether or not what we approved is working.
If I may, Ms. Harris. I haven't had a chance to review the decision prior to just hearing it out loud now. And there was a discussion during one of the hearings as to the potential for a conditional approval. My preference, my client's preference would certainly be that it not be conditional. I think part of the trade-off and the analysis my client made was that by installing the fence and removing the bocce court, seeking to retain the fire pit, and that if the fire pit were to be requested to, or, required or requested to be removed in a year, that changes, I think, some of the analysis my client puts in with regards to the installation of the fence. And I think there's also a logistical question as to whether or not we have to reapply in a year, essentially for a formal permanent approval, or if it's an automatic thing that will come up on a planning board hearing without the requirement for an application. I haven't dealt with a conditional approval of that nature before. I think that, as Mr. Dreyer said, there is, if to the extent that the applicant is not, the noise concerns have not been met, there are appropriate venues, but as to which that can be addressed. So our preference would, of course, be that it not be a conditional approval. That wasn't something that really came up at the last hearing as we moved this towards a resolution. It was, I think, mentioned potentially at one of the first hearings, but I don't think there was anything beyond a passing mention of it. So I was a little surprised to hear it as a condition.
I'm not familiar with them either. I don't know what the process would be. Corey, do you want to venture a guess?
It would more than likely be some sort of administrative review and maybe a site visit where the planning board would take a look at the landscaping and make sure it's doing what it's intended to do.
Paul?
Aside from the fire pit and the bocce court, which were not in approved plans, I think the applicant has been very helpful and generous in trying to address this issue with the neighbors, and I think that's very commendable. What I would suggest we do, if we want to keep that provision in there, put in provision subject to administrative review a year from now. I don't think it's necessary to come back to the board unless there's a real issue with it. And if it's administrative, or they can't deal with it, then the whole board can deal with it.
John?
But I would
Oh,
suggest we
sorry.
modify this to say administrative review.
John?
I would go along with that, but I would prefer not to have any further review. I don't think it's necessary.
Pam?
I agree with John. I mean, I think when I think back to my sitting in at the ZBA and how upset I was listening to issues around comments that had nothing to do within their purview, I think this is doing the same thing. And I don't think it's a good precedent that we have conditions that we have no control over. So why should that be included in our decision?
Good point. Bob?
Oh, I may be speaking out of turn and speaking for Pat and being incorrect and speaking for her, but I think her issue was the fact that it was something that was put in without approval, and that's why this was put in. I myself don't really have a problem with the fire pit. If it was a table there, we wouldn't have this discussion at all. I mean, the problem is people sitting around something and talking, and whether it's a table or a fire pit, what difference does it make? Noise is noise. So I didn't really have an issue other than the fact that it wasn't on the site, the original site plan. But I think in lieu of all the changes that they've been willing to make, that I could live without that condition as well.
That's a nice touch of reality. I don't particularly like it. We've objected before to people being bounced back and forth from here to there to back to here, and here's another one, and it's a novelty to us all, right?
I mean, I took the position right away that we're outside our lane on this
Right.
issue right from the
Yeah.
get-go. So I'm ready to approve it without anything. I mean, I don't think we should even be talking about it, in my opinion.
We need without anything, without condition 5?
Just drop condition 5.
Just drop condition 5, let them get going.
Okay, what's the process for that? Do we have to vote first to drop 5 and then vote on
You
it?
have to make a motion to amend the decision.
Amend the decision.
Do you want to make that
I
motion?
so move that we eliminate condition 5 on the motion for Bad Martha Farmers Brewery LLC.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We don't need to read it all again, so it will be everything that was read without condition 5.
Yeah.
I think it was seconded, wasn't
Yes,
it? Yeah. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
This is a really good-looking project.
Thank you.
It
It's-
is.
I said it at one of the earlier hearings, but it is truly a project that I'm proud to have been a part of. I think what they've done with that site is nothing short of astounding, and I think it's a real asset to the town, and especially East Falmouth.
It is, and as the article, I guess it was a letter to the editor in the Enterprise pointed out, it's great to have a meeting place that draws young adults. It draws older adults, I've been there, but it's a great
Not our
place.
purview.
Yeah,
I brought my kids, that's probably not as good of an idea, but it's fine.
yeah, but I think it's family-friendly. It did bring up something else in my own mind that I wanted to bring up with the rest of us. This is a B2 business zone, right? And there's a B2 business zone at the head of each one of the major roads going down the peninsulas that create the ponds. And they're dotted, there's one even up in Mort Coit, and they're dotted along 28A in North and West Falmouth. And because of this, I went back and really read very carefully what's allowed in B2 and pictured it arriving in all of those places. The letter to the editor said that we really need more attractive kinds of things, and in it, it's B2, we're now approving fast food, there's quite a list. And I'd ask you each to go back and reread it. We know that we're going to be approving the recodification that's just reformulating our current bylaws to make them easier to use. But after that, we're planning to review them with an eye to change. And it could be we want to change some of those things that would then be allowed within those areas within town. So take a look and see what you think.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next up,
Another decision?
another planning board decision. This is on Ronaldo Andrade's site plan review application for detached accessory apartment located at 209 Courier Road. You still willing to read?
Yeah, I'll go for the hat trick.
Yeah.
Okay, February 25th, 2020 draft. Motion that the planning board votes to approve the application of Deborah Robbins under Article 39, site plan review of the zoning bylaw for a plan entitled Site Plan of Land Prepared for Deborah A. Robbins, Proposed Accessory Apartment, Accessors Map 18-03-004B-001-209 Courier Road, Falmouth, Mass., prepared by J. Doyle Associates, dated August 22nd, 2019. Scale of 1 inch equals 30 feet, along with floor plans for the detached structures entitled Private Residence, Courier Road, East Falmouth, Mass., prepared by CES Designs, dated March 15th, 2018. Scale of 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. And architectural elevations entitled Andrade Residence, dated October 20th, 2006. Scale of 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Findings: the applicant, Deborah Robbins, seeks to construct a detached accessory two-car garage with an accessory apartment located at 209 Courier Road, which contains an existing single-family residence. The parcel is owned agricultural A, AGA, and contains 92,950 square feet of land. The proposed accessory apartment within the garage is 648 square feet, containing 1 bedroom. The existing finished square footage of the primary residence is 2,817 square feet and contains 4 bedrooms. The proposed percentage of total floor area of the accessory apartment is 22.92% of the total finished floor area of the principal structure. The applicant's attention is directed to the engineering department's referral dated January 31st, 2020. The site appears to fall within Water Resource Protection District, a MAP Zone 2, and the Wacoit Bay High Quality Coastal Pond Overlay District. Also, per Section 240.12 Stormwater Management B, design requirement 3, all uncontaminated stormwater runoff is to be infiltrated on the parcel it originates from. The referral indicates that because the driveway is pre-existing, at a minimum, additional stormwater runoff cannot be discharged from this site due to the proposed building and driveway during construction or after. The planning board considered the above reference referrals in the applicant's response and plan revisions in its decision in this matter. The board will condition its decision accordingly. The board finds that the information provided by the applicant conforms to all the requirements and findings pursuant to Section 240-23I of the zoning bylaw. Conditions: the plan shall be constructed as approved. Any changes shall be reviewed by the planning board to determine if a modification of this decision is necessary. Pursuant to Section 240-183B of the zoning bylaw, no permit for full or partial occupancy shall be issued until the planning board is satisfied that the conditions of this approval and predecessor approvals have been met. 2, either the principal dwelling or accessory apartment must be owner-occupied for a period of 7 months in every calendar year or owned by a nonprofit organization or government authority whose purpose is to provide affordable housing. An affidavit shall be submitted annually to the building commissioner, signed by the property owner, attesting that the principal dwelling or accessory apartment has been owner-occupied for a period of 7 months and not otherwise rented as set forth above. 3, either the principal dwelling or accessory apartment may be rented, but not both, during the 5 months the owner-occupants may be absent. Rental period shall be no less than 6 months, and weekly, monthly rentals, summer rentals so-called, are expressly prohibited. Neither the principal dwelling nor accessory apartment shall be used as commercial accommodations at any time. 4, upon completion of construction, the applicant shall post the address for this residence per Section 99-1, affixing or of legible numbers required, time limit for compliance. In addition to the address being posted on the building, a sign indicating 209A shall be posted at the intersection of the proposed driveway and the existing driveway. 5, the addition of dry wells, rain garden, or other stormwater infiltration will measure for the new roof area at a minimum. 6, the driveway will be constructed of pervious materials or stormwater diversion, and infiltration measures must be added to the design. 7, no portion of the proposed driveway is allowed to discharge stormwater to the existing driveway during or after construction. 8, the applicant will follow the Town of Falmouth soil erosion and sediment control standard conditions.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Paul?
I'm not sure I understand what item 5 is.
Say that again, Paul?
Condition?
Condition 5, I don't understand what that means. The addition of dry wells, rain garden, or other stormwater infiltration will measure for the new roof area at a minimum. What's that mean?
It should
The
be,
square footage of the roof area and whatever the runoff from the roof area, and the dry wells will accommodate the runoff, essentially.
yeah, I think that we're missing
Word.
the word accommodate,
Well,
or other stormwater infiltration will accommodate
Not measure for the, but accommodate the new roof area.
For the new
Right.
roof area.
Will be included in the calculation to measure the
Yeah,
roof area.
well, you're the engineer, so put it in engineer talk.
Well, addition of dry wells, rain guard, and other stormwater infiltration will be considered while measuring the area for a new roof area at a minimum.
Okay, so you can make a motion,
I make a motion, we revise that.
I'll second.
Could you state it again? I'm not sure we got
The
it
addition
down.
of dry wells, rain garden, or other stormwater infiltration improvements will be used to measure
Will be considered.
runoff for
Like I
the
said,
new
will be
roof
considered.
area at a minimum.
Additionally,
Will be included in the measurement for the new roof area as a minimum. What they're trying to do is figure out
Yeah,
the amount of stormwater in
Right.
addition to the
We
roof.
have dry wells, is
It
what we're
doesn't say
saying.
that.
yeah.
If we can just administratively correct that, that would be helpful.
Sure.
have we got this right?
That the
Yeah.
stormwater is gonna be, what they're gonna put in is gonna accommodate the
It's
amount
going
of.
to be considered when they measure for
extra
the new roof
stormwater
It
area.
doesn't say that, but
Yeah.
it should.
Okay, Jim,
So you get the idea.
I'm in favor. This has the feeling of being over-engineered. If I'm reading this correctly, we're requiring them to, the driveway will be constructed of pervious materials
or,
or stormwater diversions? Have we ever done that on a site like this? That's a lot of,
I think it was because of the slope of the
the
land.
slope.
And that was the engineering concern.
Similar
but
quite
but
bad.
that driveway is flat. There's no slope. The driveway is going along. Which driveway are you talking about? Are you gonna
Well,
recreate the new
It's
driveway?
one driveway going into the other. So.
Didn't we see a photograph that
it-
showed that? In fact, you can see the
So
topographical
so
lines
that
there. It's
we're
not
gonna make
flat.
them- Okay,
It's going
I just
uphill.
think we're making them do a lot.
Well, the discussion dealt with the runoff of the water on the uphill side of the driveway. Remember, you were looking at it and it had cobblestones along it, it looked really nice, but the drainage coming along the side.
I agree, we're treating this like a commercial site, we're doing all kinds of drainage revisions, we usually don't do that on a residential property. I'm in favor of just letting it go, but I'm done.
What go?
Whatever way
Deleting?
you guys want, I just think.
No,
we're-
we did it at
we're trying
Goleta.
to-
We did it at Goleta because there was runoff from that project.
Okay, just a comment, I'm fine, I'm done,
Are we okay?
I'm okay with it. I'm going for less, not more.
No, I'm hearing you. Any further
Okay with
comment?
that?
We ready to vote? All in favor?
See you.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All the new
Um,
apartments.
that takes care of the actions that we need to take. Planning board recommendations. We have the zoning board articles for spring, to amend the zoning map, to rezone 300 Dillingham Avenue from RC to PUC. And I think that tonight, we are to, do we vote or just endorse?
What's the planning board
Yeah,
article?
Planning board recommendations?
Yes, we
Yeah, we
recommend.
just approve them?
We make a recommendation, or as written, or we don't
Right.
approve it, you know.
Okay, could we have a motion on rezoning 300 Dillingham Avenue from RC to public use?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Okay, next, to rezone 64 Technology Park Drive from public use to industrial B.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in
One-
favor?
One comment before we go
Yeah.
too far. There's a letter in the file, I just wanted to make sure it was written. There was testimony the night of that event. There was an abutter that was complaining about the water tower being eyesore and pimple. The town has already approved millions of dollars to
Yeah, $2
repay.
million bucks, yeah.
$2 million to reapprove it. And I knew that at the time, but now we have a letter in the file saying that is gonna happen.
Yeah,
So
Ah.
just let,
That's good to have in the minutes.
right.
yeah,
Great. Okay, thank you. Then are we ready to go forward and vote for this?
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
And third, to amend the Code of Falmouth, Article 12, Light Industrial B districts. That was to make all of them eligible for ground-mounted solar.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have 3 discussion items, well, including committee reports. Percival Lane 40B referral to the ZBA. What have we got here? Where is the Percival Lane? Corey, what, oh, right.
Essentially, a 16-lot 40B development with all single-family houses, Title V septic.
Do we have any comments that we want to send forward to the ZBA about this? I drove over and took a look at this. It's really deep in the woods. Did anyone else go by there to see it?
I have a comment.
Jim?
I have two comments on it. One is it doesn't conform with our local comprehensive plan, but I realize the whole thing about 40B is they get to override the local planning. But I just want to go on record that this building in this location doesn't fit with our local comprehensive plan about building centers. And two, it totally ignores the water protection district also. But the 40B gives them the right to do that as well. So I'm just bringing these up as points, realizing that the applicant has the right to do it anyway. But I just didn't want to just go without saying that those are
Right.
part of our planning process, that this, because of the 40B, and because we don't have enough housing and enough multiple-family districts, we're leaving ourselves open to this kind of change to our planning, because
Right.
we got work to do, and that's,
And we're approaching almost zero land. And people are building on the aquifer, and here's another example of it.
and we can't stop it.
No, any other comments? Paul?
I drove down that road, and that's in very poor condition.
Horrible.
And I understand the developer's going to improve that and widen it. And I presume he's going to widen it on the south side and take away property from each individual homeowner, because there's private property and north of that. Having said that, I'm a little uncomfortable with the long run and trying to get out behind the club that's on the east side as you come down the hill and go around. That's a very awkward maneuver, and there's been some discussion about maybe tying into the private road that's on the west side coming in about in the middle of the project. If they were to reorient those houses, they could use that as an access point as well, and people could go in and out the same way and have the other run on the end. I think the fire department would have a hard time getting out on the south side because you've got to maneuver around the club and come down a very steep hill, and you come out by the service center property.
Well, and I don't think the builder is planning to improve the entire length of it down to connect to the road behind the club.
I
And
don't
it's
believe he is.
impassable. You can't drive through now.
But if he had another access point, that might help.
Well, that was one of my concerns too, is if you have emergency vehicles, fire apparatus, you know, usually if it's a dead end, we required a T or a roundabout, cul-de-sac or something. And so I wasn't really sure from looking at these plans that were sent to us, how that was gonna work.
Yeah, I think there needs a reorientation of some of the properties to be able to connect to that private road coming in. And then that would improve the flow there, not only coming in and out, but you'd be able to get by. You could still go out behind the club. But I think the fire department have a hard time maneuvering down there, even though they're gonna widen that road quite a bit and improve it.
But Paul, they're not planning to improve it and connect.
I don't know, I'm just suggesting they consider it.
Oh, consider it. Well, if they're going to...
I can't tell them to do that, but I'm just saying, you know, there's an opportunity there where a road comes right in the middle of the property to be able to increase the traffic flow and provide better safety. Just a thought.
Well, we should also note that it's not really responding to the housing production plan, because they're planning, I believe, 3-bedroom units there. And that's not what the housing production plan calls for as being helpful to our housing shortage. That would be 1- and 2-bedroom units, and these are not that. So in addition to the problems with the water, with the access, there's the not helping with the type of housing the town needs.
This is the reason that we need affordable housing that meets with the expectation of the HPP. And if we can just get to that magical number, which I think was 72 units per year, we can then, it doesn't stop 40B, but it puts it on hold for a year so that we can continue to build affordable housing. But until we get to that, at least 72, where we can deny the 40Bs, nothing's gonna happen. And we're gonna get more and more. This is just like building a corridor of houses
Right.
in the middle wherever there's some land available. And it's really not, I think, something that fits into the character of the town.
True. John, did you want to add to that?
I was just curious, is it gonna get paved to Trotting Park Road?
Good question.
I couldn't tell by the plan if
Yeah.
it goes all the way through Trotting
Yeah,
Park
it's going to
Road.
come off, well, it doesn't quite come off Trotting Park Road. I thought the pavement was going to, on the plan there, if you go up Trotting Park Road and make a right-hand turn and go in a ways, then the new pavement begins. Isn't that what the plan is? So it doesn't quite begin on Trotting Park Road, nor does it plan to go all the way. I've forgotten, Percival, what is the name of the road at the other end? Right behind the,
To Sandwich Road?
no, it connects to Sandwich Road, but it's a very strangely shaped, awkward road that goes in and makes greater than a 45-degree angle turn. 90, no, it's probably 45.
Is that Nuna Cardoza Way?
No,
The lot starts at Trotting Park and runs to, no, that's not it.
no, it's the road behind the Cape Verdean Club.
Right,
I don't know the name of that road.
I don't know it either.
it has, well, we could look it up on Google Map, but
I
it
have
has a
one other
separate
comment
name.
before we finish.
Yeah, John?
So,
Go ahead.
the housing production plan really prefers apartments.
Yeah.
So these are not apartments. And not every family that needs housing needs an apartment. So there's gonna be 4 families here that need housing that's affordable. They're gonna be quite happy to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So the concern to the town is they have to approve 12 other house lots that they may not really wanna have right there. But if the developer doesn't do a good job with the road and the access to get in and get out, then that person will have a hard time selling the market rate houses for the price that he quoted. So I think they have to do a good job or they're not gonna sell.
or they're not going to sell. So you think the market will take care of the problem?
I think that it will. And there's gonna be 4 very happy families at some point.
I guess that could go forward with our comments also. Paul?
I'm reminded of the discussion we had on the Habitat housing in East Falmouth, where another board reduced the number of houses from 12 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
This is 16 houses on much smaller lots, so the density is really pretty high on here compared to some other things that we've looked at. And especially when you compare it to the 7 or 8 lots to the west of that, or to the east of that, excuse me. All those lots are much bigger. These are all cramped lots squeezed in that area, and it's not the kind of location we were looking for on affordable housing, frankly.
Great. Jim?
Well, I just want to point out that when we do subdivisions, we have these streets here, like the street, I can't read the name, that's coming and ends at that lot. That was designed so in case there was development on the other side, that we could have a connecting street. That's why it was done. That's part of our subdivision control. I believe that we could recommend to the Zoning Board of Appeals that they could reconfigure this, keep all the houses the same density, connect that street, just change the buffer at the other end, and make it all work, and that should be considered. It doesn't affect the amount of housing, the units are the same. They have to connect the street in the middle there, and that lot on the southerly end would get a lot smaller, the buffer, but they could just shift them all down.
Are you concerned about the impact that would have on the houses and people who live there now?
I think it's just a safer development to have not such a long street in a cut-through, so that fire department, rescue, people can move around. I mean, it's a very long street. And when we did this subdivision before, and we proved that street years and years ago, the intention was that maybe someday it would connect to the next lot. You didn't want to cut it off. and that's why it's there. And I think we should let the zoning folks consider whether they want to do that or not. The developer's going to do what they can do, and we can't. I'm just saying, I thought maybe our recommendation to the zoning board that they should consider the safer aspect of it, but it's just a recommendation.
So we want to recommend, it sounds like, to the zoning board that they consider that this doesn't really conform to the housing production plan, but it does add 4 affordable units, so we'll have 4 families who are given housing. That it doesn't conform to the local comprehensive plan, and it is right on top of the aquifer, that it's in a water resource zone, and it shouldn't have this higher density in that place. That if they're going to do this, they ought to consider connecting to the road that comes through at the lower middle, so that the road loops around because of safety concerns with fire vehicles and general access.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well said.
So that's our recommendation on that.
Yeah.
Form-based code agenda, Jim? This is planning for our March 3rd meeting. You want to speak to that?
Let me get it.
This is density done right?
Well, all I was planning on doing is just running the density and right, have a discussion, but my understanding is, from talking with Tom, that we're bringing in, Union Studios is gonna be there, so it's a good time to introduce them. And also, I talked with Pat today, and she wanted to do an introduction of why we're here. Okay, and the main purpose of that was going back to, was it 7 years ago, when we had the housing summit in this room, and we were given 3 goals, low-hanging fruit to deal with. One was the accessory apartment bylaw. The second one was multifamily district, and the third was changing the density in the zoning to do it. So we're really working, the reason why we're here is because we had a housing study done 7 years ago. It said we needed 500 units, okay? And we needed to start off, and the first 3 things we should do would be the accessory apartment, which we've done, the multifamily district, which John is working hard on getting done, and the third is rezoning some of the properties. So that explains to people why we're here. We're not just saying, hey, this is a great idea, why don't we just put housing here? We've been working a plan for 7 years.
So that's this, we're all looking at the agenda?
I believe Pat was
agenda?
planning on introducing it that fashion, and maybe Tom was gonna do something along that, but that's all. That was it. Then I was thinking we would just run the density done right thing, and then open up for a discussion and listen to what people have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's a concern I have. It's on the visuals of the way this works. We'll be in the Herman Room, and up at the front of the room will be where the speakers are, not on the side, but at the front. And I think that it will work better if the whole planning board is sitting behind those tables. So it's clear that it's the entire planning board that's bringing this forward. I just think it will help us down the road at every step of the way on acceptability, on passing through town meeting, on getting it all done, that we're all there.
I wasn't
And-
thinking anything different. That's what we're.
Oh, it doesn't say that here. So I just want to be sure that that's what we're picturing, so that we all show up and know
Is
where.
everyone planning on going? Yes.
And our little markers are there, our little
Tuesday
name
night.
tags.
There's no
And-
way to say there's plausible
Tuesday night.
deniability
Yeah.
about this project.
That's right, no backing down, none, or backing out. And the questions and answer thing can play back and forth across the whole board. Right,
And I think I did talk to Tom about this, and he wanted to somehow, and I think either Pat or Tom, somebody should introduce the fact that we pay $400,000 a year to the Cape Cod Commission for planning. We do, that's what they take out of
Yeah.
Falmouth.
Yeah.
And for the last 4 years, we've been using that money by doing all the studies, the Davis Straits study, the introducing the density to the missing middle study, the survey, the preference survey about the kind of houses they want to see. That all needs to be laid in as groundwork, because if you just jump into this and you skip over all that work, people can say, what the hell are you doing?
yeah, they'll
That's what-
say it came out of the
That's the
blue.
foundation that we built on, and I think we need to spend just enough time, and I'll leave it up, Pat's ready to do it, I talked with her about it. And that just need, that groundwork needs to be either Pat or Tom needs to lay that out, and then we dive in.
Well, if for some reason, when Pat is talking how we got here, that doesn't get included, you're next up, and you can do
We
it
can, we can,
before you
we can
begin
adjust it,
density.
we can adjust it, yeah.
Right. Right.
Or somebody else could. Actually, ideally, I don't really need to speak, I just want to run the thing and then answer questions. I mean, the presentation is narrated,
Yeah.
so I don't really have to talk. It's our presentation, it's not mine, it's everybody's. That Corey had parts of it done, he made changes to it, it's something we worked on together. I think the real thing there is listening to what people have to say and what they think, and then incorporating that into, and the other thing people have to know, I don't know if you guys, went up the office today and I listened to a couple of phone calls come in. People think this is coming out of the blue. You know, it really isn't. You know, that we're all of a sudden making this major change. And we're not. This is something we've been working for a long, long time. And we have a solid foundation on it. And I think we should have them all listen to it and see
I
what
mean,
happens.
it was a topic at town meeting, because they had to fund the Union Studio.
Right.
Contract, right.
Yeah.
And we got a time to, this is a whole year's worth of review going on. We're not saying we're gonna bring this around next week and
Yeah.
we're gonna town meeting and do this.
Yeah.
This is a listening
Is
session.
there any possibility of having Davis Straits reports, after all, this builds on that report, having copies of the Davis Strait report there?
Well, they were enormous reports, though.
Well, but we must have some copies lying
Well,
around.
keep in mind, every town meeting member was sent a letter
Yeah,
with the links of all the reports that are foundations to this, the Davis Straits Plan, the density by design, all four foundations were included as links that they had the ability to go out and read and prepare for the meeting. And we probably should have copies of them in the
I
back.
think we should.
I think that would
Should,
be,
not to take away, just
Or-
to see that they're there.
or just have them on a screen, anyone's interested, that they could look them up. I mean, I don't think we need to really print a lot of paper in this electronic age. I think the idea of taking advantage of showing where they can get the information and read it is really what's important.
I agree with you entirely, but I think redundancy in education programs is a good thing. And we have those reports, and we might as well put them out there, because not everybody actually goes to all those links. Doesn't hurt. Oh,
Want to have a handout, you can include the executive summary of that report and have multiple copies of that. That's only a couple of pages.
That's a great idea.
good idea.
There's a
One
good
side.
idea.
Here's a good idea.
Just leave it to Paul for those good
Yes.
ideas.
How will that get carried out,
Boy, am I
Cory?
glad I came tonight.
I bet you are. Don't let it go
I'll
to
make
your-
note of it and tell the proper people
Thank you,
that will do that job.
thank you.
We having
Great.
fun yet?
No.
Okay, so are we all set then on the meeting?
Yeah.
Good, we'll be next together on March 3rd, which is also Election Day. Committee reports.
We're moving ahead on our next housing forum in May, and lining up, I think we have 3 confirmed, but I won't talk about it now, speakers, participants, and we're just moving along with it.
So that's coming along.
Yep.
Okay, community preservation, that's going to town meeting. Paul, your committees?
Yeah, the major effort was the wastewater advisory committee meeting received a note from the state that the updated wastewater plan has been approved by the state. So
Okay.
that's a very big deal. That committee's been working very hard on this, and they wrote it themselves rather than refer it out to a consultant. So
That's
they did
impressive.
receive approval from the state. That's a very big milestone.
Further information? Okay, announcements.
Yeah, I have one. This is a fundraiser called Pot of Gold. It's a fundraiser to support veteran and military families. It's Sunday, March 15th, 2020, 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Cape Club in Falmouth. And it's a brunch with Irish step dances, bagpipes, live and silent auctions, and a chance to win $10,000. It's $100 for a chance at the $10,000 prize, and additional people can come for $35. For more information, you want to call Barbara Cotton at 508-564-3306, or email her at bcotton, which is BCOTTON, @ccmsfi.org. Or send a check made payable to Cape Cod Military Support Foundation, Inc.
Any other announcements? Pam? No? Correspondence. In the correspondence file folder, we have from Tom passing on to us a notice from Noreen Stockman, the zoning board administrator. Good morning to all. Please be advised that the ZBA voted last night to amend the comprehensive permit procedural rules to require peer engineering reviews, this might be the 53G, from proposal through required inspections. By inserting the attached language, this is effective immediately. Thanks and kudos to the town engineering for assistance with this. We greatly appreciate you, Noreen. So if you want to read what you're already familiar with about the comprehensive permit procedural rules, they're in this folder. Several pages, I'm not going to read it all. Future agenda items.
I think we got our hands full, I guess.
Well, we do and we don't. We've just gotten a really good reminder about the multifamily. Let's put that back on the agenda. John, is that okay?
Put one on
Not
the-
next meeting, but maybe the meeting after.
The meeting after?
I'm just trying to get a couple of things finalized.
Okay, great.
I will say, John came to the Affordable Housing Committee, as did Jim, and Jim talked about the density done right, and John talked about affordable housing, and it was very enriching for them to be at our meeting.
Excellent.
Very informative.
Okay. Any other future agenda items? Our next meeting will be March 3rd in the Herman Room at the Falmouth Public Library. The entire public is invited to that meeting to learn about density done right and to hear from the consultants who will be helping us flesh out form-based code. So it's a good opportunity to learn about it and get a thorough grounding in it. Without further ado,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn.